So welcome. In this lesson we're going to look at list and array methods. So last lesson we looked at string manipulators, and these are very similar to that, and it's just ways of dealing with lists that can give you more access to the data and manipulate it. So in this lesson then we're going to look at this. So I'm going to show you how to use the append, the pop, the insert and the clear methods, and then for your first task you're going to work out how to use the copy, count, extend, index, remove, reverse and sort list methods. And what I'd like you to do for this task is to show at least 3 examples of how to use each list method, and also comment out next to them showing what they do. So just like what I've done here, just commenting out, so count returns the number of elements with a specific value. So that's your first task. Your second task is to show examples of built-in functions in action and explain / comment out what each one does. And the ones that I'd like you to explain are just these 5 here. Now 3 of which we've already used, and then you just have to go away and find what float does and what sum does. Shouldn't take you very long. I do want you to give examples. I would say definitely show me at least 1 or 2 examples of each being used. So where you can find this information, if you come over to W3 Schools and you click on their Python catalog, so from their homepage, if you click on Learn Python and then you come to the bottom of this first page, you'll get all of the methods and everything here under the Python reference. So the one I click on is this reference overview, and then the one we're going to look at today is this list methods. And I do want to get you into this habit of researching. Researching is very, very important. So here we are, and if you click on any of these it will give you your first example, but then I want you to come up with just two more at least, okay? So let's begin. Let's minimize this and let's begin. So I'm going to show you how to use the I'm going to show you how to use the append method first. So let's just get rid of all this text just to start a clean sheet. So in order to use any of these methods, you first need a list. So I'm just going to create a list that's completely empty. And then we're going to use append to actually put things into it. So what append does is it puts an item at the end of that list. So as you can see here, it says append adds an element to the end of a list. And then when we look at pop, it removes an element at a specific position. Then insert adds an element at a specific position, and then clear removes all elements. But let's make that a bit clearer. So I'm going to just create an empty list. So here's my empty list, and I tend to just put a little space in between just to show that it's empty as well. And remember, Python doesn't look at empty spaces, so the formatting of this is completely up to you. So now let's append something to my list. So I'm going to say my list dot append. And then it's these closed brackets, and then we need to tell it what we want to append. So we can append any kind of data object. So the first data object that we're going to append is going to be a string. So let's just say apples, and this comes straight from the W3 example here. So if we want to run this now, we can just put a little print statement, print, and then we can, inside of that, we can say my list. So we're going to say, right, at the beginning, the list is completely empty, and then we're going to append an object to that list, and then we're just going to show what that list does. So run this bit of code. So the first thing, and you can see it gives us the object or the actual list brackets as well. Let's make that a bit bigger, make that a bit shorter. There we go. So straight away it gives us the list object and says, right, you've just put apples inside of it. So let's put something else inside of it. And remember, this applies it to the end. So the next thing that we put in the list will come after this one. So let's say my list dot append. And then this time let's put an integer inside of it. And let's run that same list again. And let's see what the list looks like now. As you can see, apples goes in and then the number 9 goes in. So we can take all different objects, but the append is very specifically going to put the item that you add to it at the end. Another thing you can do with this then is you can add an input to it, and this is something you're going to use quite a bit. So let's just start a variable called item, and then let's let's put item into an input, and let's just say something like, oops, add item. Okay, so when we do that, then item, what have I done here? So once we add our item, it will populate this here, so it won't actually add it to our list straight away. And then what we need to say is, look, let's just append item to that list. So we can say my list again dot append, and because we want something that isn't a variable, so it isn't a string or an integer or a float, and it's actually a variable, we're just going to put the float. We're going to put the variable name inside of this. So there we go. So we're just going to say, right, append whatever's in this variable into this list. So now our list should say apples 9 and then whatever item I add to it. So let's run that. Let's see how that works. Okay, so it says add item. So let's just say grapes and press enter. And then when it comes here, it says, right, you've now got apples, you've got 9, and you've got grapes. So as you can see, that's very, very powerful, very, very good. And you will need to kind of look at this and manipulate it, manipulate your own list in this kind of way. So as you can see, I've used 3 examples there. I've appended a string, I've appended an integer, and I've appended a variable in these 2 lines here. And then I've output all of those values just to show you what I've got. So that is append. The next one we're going to look at then is pop. So if we go back to the top here, what does pop do? Removes the element at a specific position. Okay, so we've got our list, and we could probably clear this, but I'm just going to work with this particular list for the minute, and I might clear it in a second. So we're just going to say, right, we want to pop something into that list. So from here we're going to say my list, and then we're going to say dot pop, and then what do we want to pop? What do we want to remove from that list? So let's say position, I don't know what position, let's just say number 1, position 1. So what's that going to get rid of? It's not going to get rid of apples because apples is position 0. It's going to get rid of 9. Okay, so let's just see that in action. So what am I doing? Run that. So when it redoes it again, and we just put our grapes back in, and now you can see that number 9 has been deleted. So that can be really, really useful if you've got this long list and you just want to remove something, or you want the user to remove something. Maybe you're playing some kind of game and you're guessing what's in the shopping basket, and every time you get it right you can remove it or whatever. You can set that up very, very easily. So that's the pop method. Now let's look at insert. So how do we insert? Now it works slightly different. I'm going to clear this time and we'll start afresh. So let's just have a few values. So let's start with an integer, and then let's have a float, and then let's have a string. Okay. So in order to insert something, we first need to tell it where we're going to insert it, what position, and then we're going to say what we need to insert. So I can say my list dot insert, and you'll notice with all of these they are all dots indexed, so you have to concatenate the list with the method that you're using. So insert, and then this takes 2 arguments. So the last ones only took 1 argument. So when we looked at dot pop, or we looked at append, they just took 1 argument and it just did it. But because we're using insert, we have to tell it where we want to put our item. So the first thing we say is, right, put it at position, I don't know, where should we put it? Position 1. So if we put it in position 1, 0, 1, it should pop itself in here, okay? It should insert itself here. Then we use a comma, and then we say, what do we want to insert? So I'm just going to say, so it should make it very, very clear where my item gets inserted. So let's just run that, make sure it works. So here's my 1.44 and hello, and you can see that inserted item has dropped itself in there. And remember, you can do the same with an input statement, so you can insert the input statement. So you're going to want to give 3 examples of this. So the very last one that I want to do then is clear. Clear is really simple, and we'll just use the list that we've got. So I'm going to say my list dot clear, and all it does is it clears everything out so you can start afresh. So if you were creating a massive long list but you'd finish with it, maybe a checklist, and you'd finish with it, you could just clear it all out, and that's how we're going to use that. So I'm going to say run module, and hopefully now we'll get some empty brackets and all is good. So your mission then now is to put the information that we've just learned about these 4 list methods, and then do the next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 list methods, comment them out, and give at least 3 examples for each of these in action. And then finally, for task 2, I would like you to show examples of these built-in functions in action. And it's just for the first 3, it's just a consolidation thing, just to show that you understand what these 3 do, and then just to kind of learn maybe just 1 more. So that's this lesson. Get that information done, upload it to the assignment, and I'll see you in the next one.